Welcome to Motherhood in ADHD. I'm your friend, Patricia Sen. My mission is to be a lighthouse for mothers with ADHD, helping you find your path to success by learning to appreciate your ADHD as an asset. I'm seeking to change the paradigm that ADHD means your life is doomed to be a hot mess. So I'm sharing strategies and encouraging you in your pursuit of happiness to love who you are every day of your ADHD life. Hey there, Mama. If you haven't had a chance, could you please head over to ADHDawarenessmonth.org and vote for my video for their contest this month. Voting goes all the way through the end of the month, so I would appreciate your support. It's really easy. All you have to do is click the box that says vote and hit enter, and voila, you are done. My video is entitled, Be a Zebra, Not a Horse. Go check it out. So it's October 2019 and it's ADHD Awareness Month. And the theme for this year is myths and facts, know the difference. And I don't know about you, but I could rant on any number of myths about ADHD because there is so much information that is incorrect out in the world. So after I took a step back and realized I had to get off my soapbox in my head and figure out what did this mean to me, I realized that I wanted to talk about knowing yourself, focusing on your strengths and not so much your weaknesses. And so the theme I knew was the right one because it just kept popping up over and over again in my life for me. So I knew this is something I had to share on the podcast. So next week, we're going to go more in depth with another episode of Ask the Experts. And I reached out into the ADHD community and asked several powerhouse ADHD mom role models to share their strengths with you. So we're going to talk about that next week. But before we focus on rewriting the narrative towards our strengths, we have to know how to let go of weakness. Where is it appropriate to improve that weakness? And when is it appropriate to just let that go and know that's not important to who we are and what we're doing in our lives on a daily basis? So I didn't finish Atomic Habits before I had to return it to the library. And so I couldn't go back to see if this is from his book, but I'm pretty sure it is. If not, I'm going to give credit to Tim Ferriss because I love his podcast and listen to that. But it also could have been the E-Myth Mastery audiobook I just recently listened to. So I'm excited that this theme came up so often, but I'm also frustrated because I can't remember where I heard it. And I already returned all those books to the library to go check. So I'm giving credit to one of those three people. I don't know which one. And if I figure it out, I will go back and update the show notes so that you know who this brilliant author is. So their advice was, if you are trying to achieve a goal, you need to start talking about it like it already happened in the present of like, I am a swimmer. So if you've been following me on Instagram, I started taking swim lessons at the beginning of the summer. So I'm about 6 months in. I've spent my whole life saying, I'm not a swimmer. I'm a doggy paddler, I'm a didn't drowner, but I'm not a swimmer. I started thinking, at what point do I get to say I'm a swimmer? And his point is like, you should already be saying I'm a swimmer in order to achieve that goal. Well, here we are. Fast forward to this past week, my son was at swim lessons. I'm talking to his coach, and he said, if you could have his dad work on this skill with him, because I've mentioned my husband was on swim team growing up, so he's the swimmer of the family. And he's like, hey, can you have his dad work on this with him? He needs to break this bad habit he has. And I got all like miffed. I'm like, what do you mean have his dad do it? Like, all like girl power, I can do that. Like I was getting all like, what do you mean I need to have his dad do it? Oh, I was getting all hopped up. And then I realized, hello, Patricia, you perpetuated that statement. I caused that statement because whenever his coach is saying like, oh, he's doing really well at blah, 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 like this just comes naturally to him, I would respond with something like, oh, I'm not a swimmer, so I trust you if that looks good. Y'all, I am a swimmer. I know how to do the freestyle. I can do the backstroke. I can do the flip turn at the end of the lane and go back around. Like, don't get me wrong, it's hard, but like, I know how to swim now. And I had not changed my mindset to I'm a swimmer. I still went around saying I'm not a swimmer, but I am a swimmer. I feel like if you can do a flip turn into the wall, you're a swimmer, right? So I am a swimmer. I am a swimmer. I am a swimmer. So here's where I got to thinking, we all have these tape recorders in our head that have recorded our thoughts somewhere along the way, and they play our thoughts back on repeat to us. And we don't even realize that this recording is playing in the background until we make a point to listen for it. We are the ones that perpetuate the negative mindset. And it doesn't matter what it is that you're saying. For example, I'm not a swimmer. If you're saying, I'm not good at math, or I'm not a writer, or, oh, I'm not really good at reading, or I'm always late, or I can't do whatever the thing is, I'm too shy. Oh, I could never do that. You are the one letting that recording keep playing in your head, and you are the only one that can push stop. And I started thinking also about why do we develop this tape recording? And here you're going to hear an interesting spin on school from a former teacher. But when you're in like elementary, middle, somewhat of high school, depending on what school you're in, school pushes you to be this like jack of all trades of trying all the things and learning all the different stuff. And that is very relevant in school because there is some basic level of knowledge that you need in all subjects. You need to know addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, how to use a calculator in order to function in life. But you don't need calculus every day or high-level geometry. Yes, you need to know what a circle is, but do you really need to find out the volume of a cylinder? No, you just read the can at the grocery store and it tells you how much stuff's in the can. You also need to try out all the different things so that you can figure out what you actually like and are good at. But here's the thing, once you leave school, you don't need to know all the different things about everything. Nobody really cares that you can't do calculus unless your job requires calculus. So even though knowing algebra 2 or calculus has no bearing on your current lifestyle, you still have playing in your head that recording of, I'm not good at math. Even though you never have to write a 20-page paper in the stage that you are in right now, you still have this playback going, oh, I'm not a good writer. Mama, you are the only person who is judging your grocery store math skills. Nobody else is in your head knowing whether or not you're having issues adding stuff up or subtracting stuff. So it doesn't matter. There is only some basic level that you need to know. So let go of the fact that you can't do higher level math or write 20-page papers or run a marathon. If you don't need to run a marathon, who cares? Let's let that go. Let it go. The only reason you don't need to let that go is if that is important to you. I was listening to Tim Ferriss's podcast with Susan Cain, who I loved her book, Quiet. And she was talking about, just as a background, if you're not familiar with her, she wrote this really great book about being an introvert and how the world needs introverts and why that is a valuable thing in a world that really extroverted personalities are rewarded. So she's sharing about the humor behind the fact that she is an introvert, and now she's doing all this public speaking about introvertedness. And so she and Tim were both discussing how they both hate public speaking, and yet this is what they do every day. And she made a great point about anyone who's really great at something was bad at it at some point, but they worked really hard to get there. And Tim was agreeing with her, like, neither one of them likes public speaking, but they walked through their journeys of like how they started working on that, how they got over that fear. And it was really fascinating for me. I don't know. If you find it fascinating, go listen to the episode. I'll link it in the show notes. But if you want to change that narrative, either do something about it or stop worrying about the fact that you're not good at this thing that doesn't matter. It's either important to you or it's not. And so it's time to put our foot down and draw our line in the sand and say, if this is something I want to change, I'm going to do something about it. But if it's not something that you need or want to do, we got to let that recording go. We need to push stop and re-record something positive. So how do we do that? The first step is just recognizing when it starts. When you hear it in your head or you hear those words come out of your mouth, let it go. I'm going to do a whole series on lessons I learned in therapy And this is one of the things I learned, is just letting thoughts go. Not every thought deserves your attention. And a lot of them you got to let them go. And once you have the awareness of when it's popping up, you can then replace it with an affirmation. And I know if you are not an affirmation person, they sound so cheesy and ridiculous. I'm still working on trying to wrestle and wrap my brain around affirmations. I haven't quite nailed it down yet for something that's comfortable for me, but I'm working on it because I think they're important. That's why I'm working on it. So I have changed my tape recorder that when I hear myself saying I'm not a swimmer, I'm like, nope. You can change it to I'm learning to swim if you don't feel strong enough to say I'm a swimmer. But I now change that recording and say I'm a swimmer. So this, I guess not feel like I'm on a rant. This rant was about stop focusing on what you're not good at. Determine whether it's important to you or not, and either let it go or do something about it. But we have to change that tape recorder in our minds, mama. We are the only one who has the power to make that change. It literally is on our shoulders. If you are repeatedly telling yourself things that do not need to be true or do not need to be focused on, you have that power. You can change that inner narrative, that monologue in your head that's telling you you're not good at something. You can change that to I am a swimmer. If you're not good with math and you don't need it, start talking to yourself about what you are good at. I'm an amazing artist. I am a lover of people. I help others. I have a heart for taking care of other people. I can love on an elderly person and make them feel heard and loved in the 5 minutes that I spend with them. Those are all valuable skills, valuable contributions to the world that we all need. We need you to share those gifts. So, mama, let's just all agree to stop that negative tape recorder running in our brains, let go of that soundtrack, and focus on the things that you are great at. Now, if you're the person listening to this that says, I'm not good at anything, I call BS. BS. You are good at something. You just don't think it's valuable. Like the example I mentioned earlier of if you're someone who can talk to the elderly and make them feel special and heard when you speak with them, that is a valuable skill. Somewhere along the way, someone told you that other things were more important than making people feel good, and that is not true. We need all of the skills to make the world go round. One of my spunky friends from when I was younger, her mom used to say, somebody needs to take out the trash. Other people are going to look down at the garbage person, but you know what? That's an important job. That needs to get done. That person is a valuable contribution to society. So there are things that other people might look at and say, they're not that valuable. But again, don't place importance on people who talk down to you. That is not a friend. Don't spend so much time with that person. Find the people around you that are going to speak life into you. I hope, mama, that you have at least one person in your life that you can have an open conversation with and say, I'm struggling to find what I'm good at. And if that person truly loves you, they will be able to help you see what you are good at. I think that if you could look at your kids, maybe they're too young to express that, but I think your kids would give you a good clue into what you're good at. And I don't want you to follow it up with a but statement. Well, I'm really good at taking care of my kids, but sometimes I really lose my temper. No. Stop the but. Just leave it at, you know what? I take care of my kids well. I love my kids. It can start as simple as I say hi to the bagger at the grocery store. I always tell them thank you for helping me. Find the tiniest, littlest thing that you are good at and start telling yourself those little pieces, and you will build your confidence and your brain will start to recognize the things that you are good at because your brain does the things that are comfortable. Ooh, another lesson from therapy. It's coming. Your brain tells you the things that are comfortable and it likes to keep you in its little comfort zone. Even if that comfort zone is not actually a good thing for you, your brain still knows it's comfortable and it'll stay there. So the more you can give it new evidence of things that you are good at, those will start to build up and your brain will start to see other examples of what you are good at. You will get there, mama. It is a slow process if you've never done it before, but you will get there and you will be able to recognize what you are wonderful at. Okay, let me go ahead. I'll get off my soapbox for today. You are amazing, Mama. You are wonderful. And I want you to start that new recording, I keep saying tape recorder like it's 1980. I want you to start that new soundtrack in your brain that reminds you how wonderful you are. So, successful Mama, if you enjoyed today's podcast, I would love if you would hit the 5 stars in iTunes. It really helps boost the podcast so that we can reach more mamas. All right, successful Mama, have an amazing week, and I will talk to you soon.
Thank you for listening to Motherhood and ADHD. For more resources, head over to our website, www.motherhoodandadhd.com.